Hey guys, my name is Ralphie and welcome to my vlog. I am based in Auckland, New Zealand, and today I'm going to talk about the underlying depression that might be around for people in 2020. Dave Ramsey, who's a financial advisor in America, he coins the phrase 2020, the dumpster fire year, and it really is. There's a lot of people that are putting on strong faces, but really inside they're struggling, and myself included. I have openly spoken about on my channel about how I've had several meltdowns, anxiety breakdowns this year. I've had about 4, and to a point that it was so severe that I woke up shaking in the morning from just, I guess, my body telling me that it's physically exhausted. To a point that I actually did reach out to a official counsellor through my workplace, and an independent counsellor, and that was pretty good. That was surprisingly good, to just have a little bit of tools to kind of understand myself, and really that it's just anyone in my position it would be normal for me to break down. My counsellor even said that the story that I've had, and it's a long story so I won't fit it all in this vlog, but basically the unshaky grounds that I've had to build my own life, it really has been quite a story. So he commended my honesty and vulnerability to speak about it. There were 2 tools. I've only had 2 sessions with this counsellor, and I've asked to be paused because I've just been working very hard, so I couldn't really fit the time. But there were 2 tools that I found useful in my sessions, and one was the value system. He basically gave me a bunch of words, things like just words that I connected with and found value, and that was basically my value system and my branding for myself, and I found that really useful. I'll give you an example. Respect as a word, and I found respect was valuable for me because I needed to respect myself, and not be so hard on myself. Things like that, and I might go into the value system maybe on a different video if anyone wants me to. Just comment below. The other tool that I found really useful was he spoke about the drama triangle, and so I might talk about that in another video because this is not the video I want to talk about. But basically the drama triangle, one of the points of the triangle was, in a drama triangle you center yourself as the victim, whereas he spoke about the winner's triangle, and rather than being a victim, change that word to vulnerable. So it's okay to be vulnerable. If you want me to talk about the drama triangle in detail, let me know as well. I'm just kind of gauging what topics you want me to talk about. These vlogs are very off the cuff, they're very conversational, and I do like the comments that come through because it benefits me as much as it may benefit you. It's all about, I guess, community and communication. You might not have, I guess, like-minded people in your direct area, so by forming communities online, you can reach out to people that are equally struggling or equally finding this whole 2020 position confusing. The dumpster fire 2020, as they would coin. If you don't know who Dave Ramsey is, I'm an avid follower. Here's his book. I've listened to the audiobook, read the baby steps. It's really good. This is another tool that I found very useful. However, it's very disheartening because in Dave Ramsey he talks about the debt snowball, talks about getting out of your mortgage at a shorter remuneration, And I don't know about America. If you live in America, it's probably a very different world because housing there is more affordable than, say, New Zealand. New Zealand is in a tricky situation where so much laundered money and so much inflation of housing has left a lot of Kiwis basically renters of their own country. It's left a lot of Kiwis not much, showing not much for being a citizen. They don't have much to their name, per se, and if they do, it's heavily leveraged and heavily mortgaged. And in my sessions, I actually spoke about finance as a main thing, the economy as one of my stress points, and yeah, I just find that I've been my body's just been quite moody. Super exhausted because here I'm doing a lot of 6 or 7 day weeks at the moment. I have my regular job and also I have my weekend jobs as well. But I'm finding it difficult because as much as I want to get ahead, all I need to do is look at the monster mortgage that we have, and then it just kicks me back into depression, and thinking, I'm going to be stuck at my current job, which it's an okay job, but I don't particularly love it. Reasons being is, and I won't go into detail who the company is, but reason being is, like any other company, a lot of companies out there are struggling financially, so shortcuts are being made. So the I guess the overall vibe and of many workplaces is not favorable. And in general, 2020, I think it's been such an uncertain year for many. It hasn't really given many people much holidays off mentally to unwind or anything, And I think I'm not the only person in this position where there's a lot of people trying to survive with multiple jobs, and they're just getting tired when they get home, maybe getting grumpy, lashing out on their partners and so forth. When really, when it comes down to it, I see it as it's a toxic loop, because a lot of people now are in what I call the battery chicken economy. We are being dripped of every value, every drop, to the point that people are working so hard that they're like battery hens. And I've talked about this in my channel a lot, how human beings are now being treated as a commodity of, like a commodity like any other animal. We are no different to the battery hens or any other animal that gets extracted value from, whether it's the meat of their flesh of their for food, or in this instance, human beings are stripped value of every drop in terms of their labor. But it's interesting because New Zealand economy in particular, we're not really a labor value economy anyways, because a lot of our economy is based on flipping housing. So housing in New Zealand just keeps going up and up every year. I remember 10 years ago the average value was $500,000, and that was crazy at the time, and then it's 600,000 the next year, then 700,000. I think now the average housing in New Zealand is 900,000, which is just close to $1 million, and that's crazy numbers, guys. That's like the lottery economy, you know what I mean? It's just, for me in particular, I know that what gets me depressed is I need to work 15 more years minimum in a career that I don't particularly like, and in a low wage economy with not much room for innovation or growth, I'm very entrepreneurial myself. That's why I have set up my weekend company, which I've run actually for close to 20 years now, just on the side. It's never been a full-time thing, but I've always been entrepreneurial. But a lot of small business, really, to fulfill those dreams, a lot of small business need capital. For example, if I was to ever set up a retail front, a retail store, a boutique store of some sort selling goods, I would need like 300,000 just to do the decorations, the storefront, to make it look professional. At least that. Then there's the lease or whatever, and then all this it's against small businesses at the moment, because especially with COVID and all the free money handouts, there's not many incentives to innovate. A lot of people are just living off government handouts. 2020, we've just actually had our voting come in, results. Let's talk voting very quickly. So Labour is back in Parliament with Jacinda Ardern for another 4 years, which makes it their second term. I found it really interesting that I didn't actually listen to the, because I was working at the time, I didn't get the chance to do the live stream of the voting as it came in. But I found it really interesting how quickly, how quickly the results came in this year. And I know that democracy wheels can turn very quickly, but I found it suspiciously quick this year, because if you remember back last year, National actually was looking to be leading, and many people thought that National was going to win. But Labour got a lot of the special votes counted, and several days later they realised that Labour actually overtook National. So it was a very neck and neck run last year. And I just remember that, thinking that the results, it took a few days' time to come in, whereas this year it was like the next day the results were in already, and we already knew Labour was in power again. What's added to the suspicion, and for me, is, and I'm not going to name names, but I do know that certain politicians that I know of, and that I see a lot of things in real life, but due to I won't go into it, but I do know this for a fact, that this is not just speculation, but I do know that a lot of politicians knew what the results were before they came in, if that makes sense. Like, they were celebrating the results before it was official. If you're curious as to what I'm talking about, maybe place a comment and poke me a bit, prod me a bit as to what I mean by that. But I just know that some politicians in that spectrum knew the results before the results were in. That is very suspicious, perhaps. So anyways, maybe we'll talk about voting and governments another time, because I always talk about this in my channel, that regardless of whichever politician or whichever party comes in, I don't fully invest in it personally, emotionally, myself fully, because I know that whoever's in power, there's going to be pros and cons to every regime. So I need to establish a good solid base for my own household first, and take care of my household first. So that's things like staying out of debt and things like that. So I personally, I did stupid. I racked up $5,000 on my credit card at one point, and that was my never enough moment, until I finally found Dave Ramsey, who converted me to chop up my credit card. But yeah, a lot of that went into thrift stores and buying gear and things like that, and I don't necessarily agree that that's the best way to go about it, but it happened. I was stupid. I was 20, in my early 20s. I was a recording artist, signed, and I got a good advance So you know, I got addicted to, for me, buying equipment. Hence this amazing studio that I'm in now. But these days, I found that the more I accumulated, consumerism doesn't actually make you happy. Like, the less tools you have, the more creative you can be anyway, if you know what I mean. So I'm grateful that you know, I based a good capital back in the day when I had a lot of, I used to do crowdfunding, and a lot of my fan base was actually not even New Zealand. We were nobodies in New Zealand, but they were countries like the UK, Germany, Netherlands. Those are the countries that supported us back in 2012, so about 8 years ago. So I actually came out of it with a good advance for me to start up, you know, my musical career as such. I believe I got about 18,000 euros personally myself, and that's how I've, you know, started a good base. That's back when crowdfunding was a new thing, back when records did sell. It's a different environment now. Like, I don't think I'd ever be able to raise that windfall capital. But I do think specific fans that still follow me to this day. You know who you are. I won't point you out, and you know who you are. I talk about you all the time, but you know, you don't need many fans. It's only a little bit pockets of fans. With this YouTube thing as well, I don't know where the growth is going to be for this channel, and I don't plan to be like the next YouTube thing, because in the end, I'm just using it as a platform to communicate with other people. What I found with any platform, like for example, you know, I spent several $1,000s on a record and uploaded it to Spotify only to get a few cents per year. So really, my hard work and investment was not returned back to me. It was more of advertising for really just getting my stuff out there. It was a passion project, but it benefited the platform, not me. So Spotify, with its many subscriptions, gets benefited more than the actual artists that spend thousands of dollars on records and get several cents a year from streams, regardless of how many streams you get. And I know a few artists that get many streams and only get a couple of cents. You only have to look at back in the day when Taylor Swift had that rant about how her streaming royalties were ridiculously low compared to her streams. So there's Spotify, there's YouTube. I know a lot of great YouTubers out there, Mike Martins in particular. By the way, Mike Martins, thank you for calling me and asking me to be an official subsidiary for his channel. So what that means is he just puts me on rotation with his other guests, and so you might see me every now and then on Mike in the Night, just having a chat with good old Mikey from Canada. So yeah, what that means is I get to be on his rotation, and I also get to copy and paste a lot of the videos we collab with and upload it on my own channel with permission from him. So that's all that means. Neither of us make a ton of money on YouTube, and really what it comes down to is just using it as a platform for communication. Okay, I know a lot of YouTubers out there, they upload videos thinking, oh, you know, this is gonna give me a this is gonna give me an income. It's not the case anymore in 2020. Know that for a lot of YouTubers. Even I know a few YouTubers that were super successful back in the day. Let me talk about, for example, what's that gaming channel? The NES Pursuit. They talk about this a lot, where YouTube used to be full-time back when they, you know, monetization was a little bit easier, but now they've got their own jobs and YouTube just doesn't pay, just doesn't, and don't expect that. So anyways, with these videos, it's just you and me sitting down in a room having a chat. I love and value the comments because it gives me something to bounce off and maybe talk about next time. And maybe if you've got your own channel, or you're not afraid of the camera, you know, just send me your links, because all it is for me is I just want to connect with like-minded people, because I know that in my very specific community, not everyone is as thoughtful as perhaps I am, or mindful of the political happenings and things like that, because they're so focused on their own narcissism with social media, just posting selfies non-stop, posting selfies of their fake rich, You know, I'm buying this now, I'm buying that now, I'm off to this holiday now, and just really in the end they're just racking up their credit card, and yeah, just whereas for me, I now follow the Dave Ramsey principle, and in terms of spirituality, what I've found as well is I'm walking my path of spirituality a lot closer, and I've always been quite spiritual, but I've noticed that if I focus my message on positive things like walking my path of spirituality rather than numbing myself with vices, it actually returns more blessings. It's like, as they say, God works in mysterious ways, and I hope that continues to be, because I'm by far not the perfect human when it comes to you know, that vices or anything like that, but you know, I do what I can. You know what I mean? And I try to be a better person, and I find the more I walk in my spiritual path, the more I welcome that. Yeah, that you know, you get more blessed. So fingers crossed. And yeah, and try not to bottle things up if you do have a lot of anxiety, depression, things like that, because of the dumpster fire 2020 year. Talk about it, maybe reach out to a professional like a counselor like I did, even just 1 or 2 sessions. I was freaked out talking to just like a stranger, but I found it useful, especially someone trained in psychology and counseling. It could help. Please don't bottle it up. Because yeah, one of the key tools that I found from one of my 2 sessions was that whole flipping the drama triangle with a winner triangle. And yeah, so rather than being a victim about my situation, about my disadvantages in life, you know, I learned to be a bit more vulnerable. Hence videos like this. I'm talking to the internet. Who knows who's watching this, right? Who knows? But hopefully my struggles and my vulnerability might be like enlightening for other people, and you know, you might be able to connect, and you know, not feel so alone like I have in the past, you know, because I was bottling it up. You know, and you do get life is. There's this great quote I heard from John Mayer, who's one of my favorite singers, artists. I sing his stuff all the time. And in one of his concerts, he actually said that life is full of bullies. You know, life is full of bullies, and he was talking about this, and he's like, you know, be yourself, life is full of bullies, don't let them get you down, kind of thing. And I thought that was a really nice thing for him to say, because life is full of bullies. You might get people that don't understand your depression, your anxiety. They tell you things like, oh, just harden up. You know, just harden up, because they don't want to deal with it. But, you know, you can't just harden up with depression. It's not as easy as some people might think. And especially if you have those people in your life that do have jobs that they love. They're very privileged to have jobs they love. They're well paid and such. That's very rare, especially in New Zealand. New Zealand is a low wage economy. A lot of New Zealanders don't have good paying jobs. They have repetitive jobs. They have monotonous jobs. A lot of the jobs are being automated. A lot of jobs now have autonomy, so it's being automated. You know, the self-checkouts of the day. You know what I mean? It's a shame, because I remember I used to be, in my teenage years, I used to be a checkout boy, and that was my job. And now that even those entry-level jobs don't exist. And so where are our youth now? So yeah, just remember that life is full of bullies. Every now and then I'll get a dislike, I'll get a hate, I'll get a troll, but I don't mind, because every now and then I do actually, someone comments, thanks me for my thoughts, they provide their own thoughts, and it's like a friendship is kindled, and that's more important to me than you know, pleasing everybody. So again, I'm not really sure who's going to watch this video. This is more for me in terms of just maybe self-therapy, but also maybe for you. I really would love to hear from you if you are watching. Maybe there's certain things I've talked about that you connect with. Let me know. I do read your comments. And yeah, and speaking of jobs, a lot of people are unhappy because there's very little growth plans for a lot of companies at the moment, because a lot of companies in New Zealand are struggling financially. They're relying on government handouts, and yeah, with this whole government handouts thing, it's like kicking the can down the road. It's not creating incentives, you know what I mean, for people to innovate and create. So that's where I'm feeling stuck. Maybe you've got some advice for me. Let me know. Alright, I'll wrap up this video because it's getting close to half an hour, but that was my rant for the day. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ralphie. Check me out, ralphie.co.nz, and I'll, till then, next time, thank you very much for watching. Have a good day, and bless to you. Bye.